Disney stars were arrested and some even spent time in prison, starting with the one that shocked me the most, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. He went to prison for manslaughter. So in 1991, way before The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody aired, Phil killed a 21-year-old girl while drinking and driving. But he was released early and only served 1 year because of the work he did in prison. Next, we got Debbie Ryan, who played Bailey Pickett on The Sweet Life on Deck. When Debbie was 22 years old, she was arrested and charged with a DUI after she crashed her car with another person and severely injured them. Okay, this one's crazy. Back in 2018, Adam Hicks, who starred in Zeke and Luther, was arrested after going around pointing guns at people and robbing them with the help of his girlfriend, Danny. He ended up getting only 5 years in prison, and now he's pursuing his music career and he's on TikTok. Now, this one definitely caught me off guard because Mitchell Musso played such an innocent kid on Hannah Montana, but he was arrested for public intoxication on August 26th of this year when he apparently stole a bag of chips from a store, but he denies this ever happened. Mitchell was also arrested back in 2011 when he was 20 years old for a DUI. Let me know which one surprised you the most because mine was Mr. Mosby.
Do you think ghosts can help solve cold cases? Well, throughout history, there's been reports of ghosts coming back to tell their loved ones who killed them, like the story of Fred Fisher. And if you're interested in these kind of stories, I just did a podcast episode on the most famous one. So in 1826, an Australian man by the name of Fred Fisher disappeared into thin air. But this never sat right with his best friend John, because Fred seemed to have left in the middle of the night and didn't take any of his stuff with him. Fred's neighbor claimed that he had gone back to England and had named him the power of attorney. And then his neighbor starts selling all of Fred's stuff. So John starts thinking that something is not right. So one night, months later, John is walking down the street, he's had a few drinks, and right when he's passing Fred's property, he sees a ghostly figure standing in his yard. It looks exactly like Fred, but he's completely pale with like this dead stare. And the figure just lifts one hand slowly and points past John to a creek that's behind him. So the next day, John goes down to the creek right around where this apparition was telling him to go, and sure enough, he finds Fred's body. Not only did this ghost lead John to Fred's body, but it also led to the arrest of the sketchy neighbor for his murder. This full story and more this week on the pod.
In 1992, the body of Aglina Diaz de Leon was found right here in this church courtyard. My fiance and I host the podcast Murder in America, and we decided to visit this church on a sunny day last month so we could tell Aglina's story to all of you guys. In 1992, Aglina was found right here in the courtyard of the building, nude and her throat had been slashed after she was strangled.
Shout out to
For
King
10
Saul's
years
balls
after the
in
crime,
the
nobody had a clue who killed Aglina, and it was a national mystery. That is, until one day in 2002, when police finally got a lead through DNA. Witnesses saw a man named Guadalupe Sandoval near the scene of the crime the night that it happened, and DNA linked him 10 years later to the murder. In the meantime, he had married and raised 2 kids. You never know who you're marrying, I guess.
The Muffin Man is actually a serial killer. You know the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, right? But did you know it was based on a dark, true story? 1 second. Chocolate chip. Tastes like your mama booty. But yeah, the story is darker than you think. Because in the 1800s, there was a man named Frederick Thomas Linwood. And he would wait lurking in alleys, looking for his next victim. And they would always be kids. You see, he would kidnap them and unalive them, luring them in with muffins. I mean, what kid wouldn't want a tasty snack? When the townspeople got word of what was happening, they decided to come together and figure out a way to prevent this, to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. You're walking past the alleyway and the Muffin Man gets you. Your fourth act sees this and tries to rescue you. Let me know who it is and let me know if you think you'd be doomed or not. Anyways, he's one of the first documented serial killers in the world. And everyone still teaches this song to their kids, even children TV shows. And yet nobody knows that
Nobody has been able to explain this creepy viral video. For the past 11 years, a man who runs a TikTok account by the name of Dude, My House is Haunted has been pretty confident that there has been some paranormal activity within his home. He claims that ever since his wife passed away, there have been some strange and unusual things going on. So eventually, he decided to leave cameras out and record what was happening and post it onto TikTok, which is the footage that you are about to see. In this video, you can see a chair seemingly moving on its own. It moves somewhat slowly until it suddenly is violently pulled into the corner by the kitchen. A mysterious, shadowy figure can be seen moving behind the chair, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the chair is thrown into the kitchen. Now, of course, we're not really sure what happened in this video, but I'm having a hard time coming up with an explanation for this one.
Insanely dark facts and things that have happened at Disney World. When Disney had first opened way back in the 70s, Walt Disney had originally hired spies. He would station them around the park so they could eavesdrop on the guests and get a feel for how they actually liked the experience. It's pretty much common knowledge that Disney does have an underground tunnel system, but did you know that that system runs a full 9 acres under the park, and people have actually gotten lost down there? Roughly 10 or so years ago, there was an incident that was reported near Space Mountain when a guest tried to sneak on a duffel bag. When employees found out and they asked to search it, they found inside a 6-month-old baby. Why this parent was trying to sneak a baby onto a roller coaster, we do not know. In a lesser-known incident that Disney actually covered up pretty well, in 2004, a 38-year-old cast member who was playing Pluto was run over by the Beauty and the Beast float during the opening parade. Although clearly deceased at the scene, Disney refused to declare the death until the body was brought outside of the park.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 18. A man from Queens once spent 5 months in jail completely unaware that his bail was just $2. Since spiders molt, when you see what you might think is a dead spider, it could just be that the spider left behind its exoskeleton and is now bigger than before. Dr. Seuss cheated on his wife while she had cancer, and then she proceeded to commit suicide. Almost everyone on Earth is walking around with a bunch of poop inside of them. Scientists accidentally killed the world's oldest living animal, which was a clam that lived to be 507 years old. Statistically speaking, at least one person who comments on this video will not be alive tomorrow. The real reason you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough isn't because of getting sick from eating raw eggs. It's because you shouldn't eat raw flour, which contains fecal matter from all the birds flying over the field and pooping on the wheat.
I bet you didn't know that these 3 myths aren't true. So the first one is that if you swallow chewing gum, your stomach will take 7 years to digest it. And that's just not true. And that's totally cap, because if you swallow some gum, it'll only take about 2 to 4 days to pass through your entire system. The second myth is that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. Scientists have not yet discovered a correlation between cracking your knuckles and arthritis. However, over time, it can lessen your grip strength. And at number 3, we have the myth that sugar makes kids hyper. I totally thought this one was true, but scientists say that it's completely false. While it has been proven that sugar can change your mood and make you feel more active, there's no real connection between kids being hyper and the consumption of sugar.
AC is not working. Look at everyone. So many people, they are using these magazines. AC is not working at all. And as usual, your TV screens are also not working. Neither this button for calling the cabin crew. Nothing is working. Nothing. Not even the light is working. See. This is what you are providing. And as usual, that is why Air India is
about you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only.
Sauce the boss, yo, sauce the boss.
These are facts that make death even scarier.
Up first, since the first ever human being, about 108 billion people have died. If you just stop and think about that for a second, it's actually impossible to wrap your head around. Every single human being you've ever read about has lived on this planet and died. Next up, we've all heard the phrase, he died of old age. But that is a complete myth. You don't actually die from old age, but instead all of the sicknesses and diseases that come with getting old. Getting old is actually awful and is probably one of the worst things about being a human. Finally, by the time you finish this video, 150 to 200 people will have died. People die every second of the day, which should make you stop and appreciate your life right now, because it could be gone within seconds.
Can you imagine living with someone that you know is trying to end your life? This hidden camera captures a moment this woman puts bleach inside her husband's coffee maker multiple times a day. This is Robbie Johnson, and he began setting up cameras all around his house when he started to notice that his coffee was tasting a little off. He wasn't really expecting to catch anything, but when he looked back at the footage, he was shocked. His wife Melody is seen pouring a substance inside his coffee maker every single day before he brewed the coffee. Robbie got testing strips, and each time it tested positive for chlorine. At this time, Robbie and Melody were in the process of a divorce, but they were still living together. Robbie pretended to drink his coffee every morning and continued to gather evidence so that he can go to police. But when he showed police all this footage, they said that they couldn't see exactly what Melody was pouring into the coffee maker, so he couldn't prove it. So Robbie had to set up even more cameras around the house with different angles so that it can prove that Melody was in fact poisoning him. Melody was charged with attempted murder, and I bet this guy will never let anyone else make him a coffee again.
Today I'm going to be asking my haunted doll about S-walkers. I won't say their name because people don't like saying their name. So if you don't know what an S-walker is, basically it's this creature that's been seen throughout history. A lot of Native American culture believes in these walkers and believe that they are demonic entities that kind of pose themselves as animals or different types of species. So I'm going to ask my haunted doll what she thinks of them, if she believes in them. The link to the Spirit Box app I use is in my bio. Lola, do you believe in S-walkers? Yes, she does. Have you ever come across one before? Yes. That was a really quick yeah. Have you ever been attacked by an S-walker? No, that's good. They're dangerous.
Was found abandoned in Liberty County, parked between Turkey Creek and Prison Road. This area is, I guess, known as the Stoke site. But Nicholas was nowhere to be found. The car only had a little bit of charge left and the windshield was damaged. Authorities found that the car at some point had driven under a cable, and this was confirmed when they found the cable in question about 1.5 miles away with the car's white paint on it. The police contacted the vehicle's owner, who was then able to remotely unlock it. And inside the car, police found 2 phones, one belonging to Nicholas and one belonging to his wife, who wasn't allowed to have a personal phone at the rehab center. Also inside the car was a change of clothes, a McDonald's receipt, a drone that Nicholas used for work, and an unknown substance. Authorities searched the area surrounding the car by land and air, and they even brought in tracking dogs, but no trace of Nicholas has ever been found. According to a sheriff that was on the scene, he said that there were hardly any footprints surrounding the car, and that something isn't adding up. His family didn't even know about his disappearance until a few days later on March 3rd when his wife was allowed to call him, but a deputy answered instead. The car rental was without contact and done through the Turo app, so the owner of the car never actually met Nicholas. And according to Nicholas's mom, she last spoke to him around 8:30 the night he went missing, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She mentioned that Nicholas did struggle with alcohol and drugs in the past, but he's never just not reached out. They talk almost every day, so it's not like him to just disappear. It's now been a year and Nicholas is still missing. If you have any information about his disappearance at all, please contact the number on the screen.
This might be the scariest thing that ever happened to America. We all know that America had a lot of scary things happen to it, but this has to be the scariest thing ever. On August 29th, 1968, every single TV in America shut down. But a demonic whispering was coming from every TV in America. Many people believed that it was the devil trying to get across some message, but nobody really understood it. This lasted for about 25 seconds, then all the TVs came back on. To this day, nobody knows what caused it or why it happened, but everybody believes it was the works of the devil.
December 29, 1986, a California Highway Patrol officer named Craig Pyre drove his cruiser down Interstate 15 in San Diego, California. With him was an NBC News reporter filming a segment about highway travel safety that was set to air later that night. At around 4 a.m. the previous morning, a 20-year-old college student named Kara Knott had been found strangled to death in a creek right near the Mercy Road exit. And so as Officer Pyre passed by the Mercy Road exit and continued down Interstate 15, as they filmed, he began talking about the basics of highway travel safety.
Anything could happen. Being a female, you could be robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed.
As this particular segment was filmed, Officer Pyre was looking ahead and he noticed there was a car pulled over on the shoulder of the highway with its hazards on. So he turned to the news crew and basically said, look, here's a chance for us to actually show what to do in case your car breaks down on the highway. Officer Pyre walked over to the passenger side door of this car and asked him to explain what happened to your car. The driver said he had run out of gas and then gotten stranded on the side of the road. And then he had left his car and walked to a gas station to get a gas can. And all the way back, he put the gas into his car, but his car still wouldn't start. This driver is doing basically exactly what he shouldn't be doing, according to the safety tips Officer Pyre had given. And so on camera, he basically says to this guy, do you understand how dangerous it is to have left your car like that and walked alone on this highway? And the driver just kind of looked at him and shrugged like, yeah, I guess so. After that, Officer Pyre and the news crew wrapped up filming. They told him what time to expect his segment to air on NBC that night. And when Officer Pyre's actual segment aired on TV, there were a few people, when they watched this clip, that noticed something very specific. And within an hour of this clip airing on TV, those few people were calling the police in droves to tell them, we know what happened to Kara Knott. It would turn out all the clues the police needed to solve the Kara Knott murder case were right there in that 1.5 minute long video. Because what happened to Kara had almost happened to over 24 other women in San Diego. The other 24 women who encountered the same person, the killer. They were terrorized and tortured and held hostage for a couple of hours, but eventually were let go. But Kara wasn't. During her encounter, at some point, the killer clubbed her over the head and then strangled her to death with a rope. Now, the killer at first had gotten away with this until they were featured on that 1.5 minute long video. And some of those women who had survived their attack, they're watching the segment and suddenly their attacker is on TV. And so put that all together and they thought, boom, that's the person who killed Kara Knott. And sure enough, the police would follow up on these tips and they would confirm that the man in the video was Kara's killer. And Kara's killer was none other than Officer Craig Pyre. Officer Pyre was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
What did Buzz Aldrin see in Antarctica? Let's rewind. So in 2016, a satellite got an image of what experts believed to be a huge pyramid in Antarctica. Now, if this was in fact a pyramid, it would be the largest pyramid ever found on Earth. Bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was about 230 meters wide. This pyramid in Antarctica would be 2,000 meters wide. Now, apparently in 2016, Buzz Aldrin and a crew got together and went to Antarctica to explore and check out this colossal pyramid. They wanted to see it for themselves. But this is where it gets crazy. While on the expedition, Buzz Aldrin suffered a heart attack. He was hospitalized for days. But when he fully recovered and left the hospital, he tweeted something strange, but then quickly deleted it. It said, "We are all in danger. It is evil itself." Now, what the hell he talking about? Because I don't want to find out. Someone close to Buzz said they had a talk with him and he said this.
Buzz did say one thing. He just said, we thought out things we shouldn't. And I went, what do you mean by that?
Come on, man. What did they find? Was it aliens, a Nephilim giant, other humans? If it is a pyramid, who built it and what was living in it?
Yo, what's up? These are Kids That Killed, Part 5. Today on our list, Aaron Campbell. On July 2nd, 2018, 6-year-old Alicia McPhail was nowhere to be found throughout her house. Her parents searched her room, the living room, and every other part of the house, but she could not be found. But the crazy thing was her bicycle was still parked out on the curb, so she couldn't have gone far. I mean, she was only 6 years old and didn't have a habit of running away, so her parents began to worry. But it turns out that this 16-year-old psychopath, Aaron Campbell, had actually contacted Alicia's dad the night before, trying to buy some drugs. and when he went to pick him up and Alicia's dad wouldn't answer, he snuck inside the home, grabbed Alicia while she was sleeping, and kidnapped her. Alicia then woke up while she was being carried around by her kidnapper, and he told her that she had nothing to worry about and that he was a friend of her father's and he was going to get her home safely. But that was far from the truth. It'd be shortly after the young girl woke up that the 16-year-old would move on to brutally beat, rape, and kill this young 3-foot-tall 6-year-old girl. It wouldn't be until the morning after this incident where the parents and neighbors would have a search party going out to look for the young girl, and they would find her dumped in a woodland area about 15 minutes away from their home with over 117 different injuries on her body. It was said that they found trace evidence of semen on this girl's body, and it was even claimed by forensics that she was beaten long after she had already died. It was later found out by the police during an investigation that Aaron Campbell was the one who committed these horrific acts on this young girl. And at the age of 20, when he was in prison already, he actually got beat and his front tooth went through the top of his lip. Sorry, Aaron, but you got what was coming to you.
This family was last seen in 2022, but have never been seen since. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of the Bernstein family. Viewer discretion is advised. Pictured here in the middle is 33-year-old mother Abigail Bernstein. Pictured here with her two sons, 11-year-old Kowakai Bernstein and 8-year-old Kush Bernstein. So this case originates on the island of Oahu, specifically in Honolulu. Abigail had allegedly met a man online and they planned to take a year-long trip, a boat trip. In October of 2022, Abigail and her two children were last seen here at the Alawai Boat Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii. The identity of the man that she met and was going on this trip with, I don't think has been made public. I can't, even the FBI, website doesn't have any information on him. But what the FBI has stated is that the boat returned in 2023. I'm assuming that means with the man, but again, I'm not 100% sure. What is sure, however, is that Abigail and her two sons were not on that boat. This entire family has not been seen since they left that boat dock in 2022. Once they were reported missing, the FBI becomes involved, and the FBI would find out that Abigail and her two kids were living a very nomadic lifestyle. They completely cut off, or Abigail did, cut off all communications with her family. So it was literally just her and the two kids. Her two sons were not enrolled in school at the time of their disappearance. Neither of the two kids, or Abigail especially, had a cell phone. They cut off their cell phone before they left. And again, I have to assume that this man they went with was questioned and talked to. I don't know what, if they did, I don't know what he said. It's very strange because the FBI is saying that they don't have any evidence of foul play. However, they cannot rule foul play out. They just don't have proof of it. Most importantly, they don't have this entire family. Where did they go? Some believe that they, could have just started a new life somewhere on another island. Abigail had connections not only to Oahu, but also on the Big Island. She also had connections to people in Naples, Florida, Petoskey, Michigan, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I can only assume that they have investigated those angles as well. The hope is that they are just living off the grid somewhere. And if it was just Abigail, they would probably not be pushing this as hard because, she's a 33-plus-year-old adult. But there are two children involved here, and there is concern for their well-being, not necessarily because of Abigail, just because nobody knows where they are or what they're doing, but somebody out there has to have seen them. And as badly as Abigail may not want to be found, people just need to know where these kids are at. Someone somewhere out there knows the truth, and perhaps that someone is you. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Abigail Bernstein or her two sons, please contact the Honolulu, Hawaii FBI office at 808-673-2719.
She ate a poisonous cake that was left at her doorstep. 17-year-old Anna Neves was from Brazil, and she was described as a quiet girl who had a few close friends. Secretly, one of Anna's best friends was actually jealous of her, and she was planning something sinister. On May 30th of 2025, a guy delivered a package with a cake inside to Anna's home. Anna wasn't home at the time, so her sister took in the package. Anna arrived home later that evening around 6 p.m. and her sister was so excited to show her this cake because it had a note that said, "A treat for the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." Anna was flattered because she believed this was from a secret admirer, and as she was eating this cake, she had no idea that that was a big mistake. Less than an hour after eating that cake, she started to vomit violently and have severe diarrhea. The following day, her symptoms got worse and her father rushed her to the hospital. Medical staff told her that she had food poisoning, so she was given medicine and hooked up to an IV drip, and slowly she started to get better. Soon she was discharged and sent home because it seemed like she was back to normal. But later that day, once she was home, she fell on her bathroom floor and suffered a cardiac arrest. Once emergency services arrived to her home, she had passed away. Anna's family was trying to figure out how this could have even happened to her, and that's when Anna's sister remembered that there was a strange guy who had dropped off this delivery. Her family contacted the police and they were able to determine that this cake was bought at a local pastry shop named Menina Trufa. The owner of the shop spoke with police and she stated that an order was made for this cake and that an unknown delivery guy from an app had picked it up and delivered it. Police tracked down the guy who delivered this cake and he was able to get the address of the person who ordered this cake, and it ended up being Anna's best friend. That friend was brought in for questioning, and at first she denied everything and stated that she had nothing to do with her friend's death, but after hours of questioning with the police, she admitted to everything and stated that she had laced the cake with arsenic that she had bought online for $11.50. She stated that she only meant to scare Anna and didn't mean to harm her at all. She ended up stating that she did this to someone else by sending them a poisonous cake as well because two of her boyfriends left her for this girl. This other victim became extremely ill, but fortunately she survived. This friend was sent to a young offenders institution and her identity is currently being hidden and there is no updates on any kind of sentencing.
My life, son.
Sauce the boss. It's his birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
Oh, this is big right here, y'all. Everybody wish Sauce, the official boss, happy birthday, man.
We're back once again.
Let's go. Let's see it in the timeline.
It's a beautiful day. If you're feeling down, just
I like to
get you a bag of that.
I like to wish
Light up.
Sauce.
Can't fight him, Mr. Head Ride. Can't greet him with two, only the third eye.
I like to wish Sauce the boss.
Let me on this track.
Happy birthday.
Accidents to opera O's.
I like to give a big shout to Ashley Gordon. Somebody say happy birthday. Charlie Peters.
Unstoppable. Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Therefore, I'm flying off the tracks. Extraterrestrial.
I like to give a big happy birthday to
Land Soul Train line.
Sauce the boss.
They fear what they don't understand. I forgive them because they don't really know no better. Hope let them walk on water. Dancing in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with a polo sweater. How bad do you want success? I was holding my breath. Unconsciously, the conscious me woke up and came up for air. I turned when you sick to the boom, but ain't dancing with chops. They guaranteed them in the dreams. Fight and miss, Mr. Clean. Dirty talk, come shots, Listerine. The devil tried to catch me slipping, but my third eye open. I see when I don't know. Body growing out the ground. No reason to cope, cause the pressure coming. They bitching up. You can count on a fingerless hand how many people I can trust.
I like to give a big shout to Boyce Roseborough.
Meditate, bring down.
His choice been thorough. Huh? I like to say, hey girl.
My fault, the beats is blasting. The beats is beating. We got some shit to unbox because you know we have new decks on the way. Wait, new waves for the play bay. Tell them to go play with their mother. Coño, pero yo. What are you talking about? Really being held captive. Okay? It is a hostage. What are you talking about? Really being held captive. Okay? It is a hostage.